Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome in to Duval Daily presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks so much for being here. Tuesday, April 1st. Hopefully y'all have all had a wonderful April Fool's Day, have not got too much by any fake news, anything like that going on, people trying to play tricks on you. But right now, no fake news. We do have a Jacksonville Jaguars 7-round mock draft. Was not with y'all yesterday for Mock Draft Monday because we were traveling back from Vegas from the bachelor party that I attended over the weekend. Had a lot of fun with some of my best buds. Shout out to them. So getting into this Mock Draft Monday. Liam Cohen's comments at the NFL League meetings didn't really do much to sway me. I don't think anything was revealed that's suddenly going to give you some massive insight into what the Jaguars are going to do beyond what you already thought they might do based on some of the roster needs and some of the strengths and weaknesses of the 2025 draft class. So I don't really have any major impact on what's going to happen draft day, other than the Jaguars have multiple times kind of talked about defensive line, both James Gladstone and Liam Cohen. So I think that they're going to potentially pursue defensive line in a big way. Wouldn't be surprised if that happens at 5. Today, I normally do a mock draft and I run it before I do the show so I can kind of just digest my thoughts a little bit more on the mock draft and give it to y'all that way. But we're going to run this live over on the PFF mock draft database here for y'all today. So excited to do that. Should be a little bit of fun. Kind of like showing y'all what I'm thinking in real time with this mock draft. So we'll go ahead and take you over to the PFF mock draft simulator. And at 5, we have Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell, and Travis Hunter off the board. I'm expecting Will Campbell to be on the board and the rest of those 3 guys, Hunter, Carter, Ward, to be gone, and Shedeur Sanders to be gone. So obviously Sanders being there doesn't affect the Jaguars' pick, but it could impact the Jaguars' ability to trade down. If Shedeur Sanders is sitting there at 5 and there's a team that really wants him as their franchise quarterback, could you potentially trade down? I think in this scenario, that's definitely what we would be looking to do. As much as I love a Mason Graham, I just don't think he's worth not potentially trading down, especially considering the defensive tackle class that we're looking at here in 2025. So let's explore trade downs. I mean, we could trade down to 9. A lot of teams interested. I think 17 is a little bit too far. So 9 New Orleans Saints are interested in the pick. And yeah, they could certainly use Shedeur Sanders potentially. So what do they have to offer for us? 9, 40, 74% chance of that trade being accepted. We fleece them for a 3 as well. Maybe not. 4? Maybe. It's like we don't have to move down, right? Like we're comfortable sticking and picking here. Mason Graham. Let's see what we can get. Let's try to get 112, 9, and 40 for pick 5 overall. Trade accepted. So the Jacksonville Jaguars move down to number 9 overall. I think that's pretty exciting prospect because, again, love Mason Graham, the player. But when you look at the rest of this defensive tackle class, when you look at being able to add value and you've got so many positions of need. Wide receiver, huge position of need. PFF has tight end as a position of need. I don't agree with that. You have Brenton Strange and you'd have 2 really good blocking tight ends. To me, it's not a big position of need. It is a position of strength in the 2025 draft, so that's something to consider. You don't always have to draft for need. You try to match up need and value and get the best possible pick there. But wide receiver, defensive interior, safety, I still think corner is a big need as well. Edge 3 is a big need, edge depth in general. Interior offensive line is a big need. I don't think running back is necessarily a huge need, but it's a very strong running back class, so you could go get one of those guys as well. So that's kind of how we're approaching it here. And as much as I love Ashton, I just don't think I can convince myself to take a running back that high with the level of running back talent in this class. And the fact that Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne are both talented football players. Regardless of how kind of last year went, they are both talented runners. Sitting here at 9. Um, I mentioned interior defensive line. I mentioned interior offensive line. I don't think that there's necessarily an interior offensive lineman that you want to take at 9. Mason Graham's off the board, obviously, here. To me, the most complete defensive tackles in this class outside of Mason Graham are Derek Harmon and Darius Alexander. Do either of them need to go top 9? I think you could make the argument that they should both go in the teens, right? But we're trying to find the best possible value. Safety's a huge need. Do you want to take a swing on Malachi Starks here? You could. The positional value is not super strong at safety, but pretty much the only thing you have right now that you feel, at least that this regime feels good about, is probably their signing of Eric Murray. You've still got Savage back there as well. I'm looking at Will Johnson, and I know he's fallen down so many draft boards, it looks like, based on what you see around the internet. To me, Will Johnson is a prototypical cornerback in every way. Mentally, physically, his tape, when healthy, fantastic. He's so smart and instinctive, and he's got all the skills physically to allow the instincts and the smarts and his ability to study to really show up on tape. And he's a guy that creates turnovers, pick sixes, physical tackler, can play press man coverage, really good in off coverage. That's the direction I'd be leaning here at 9 overall. I don't know why I understand why the overthink has happened, but I don't agree with it, right? Will Johnson is where I would go here. And I would say, look, Jordan Lewis, Jarian Jones, love you both. You're competing on the interior. You're going to make us better. Will Johnson's going to be starting opposite Tyson Campbell. Jordan Lewis, if there's an injury, you can fill in outside. Jarian Jones, if there's an injury, you can fill in outside. Jordan Lewis probably going to be the starting nickel in this situation. Jarian Jones having to fight for reps. Sorry about it, but I'm not letting Jarian Jones playing time keep me from selecting Will Johnson, who I think has Pro Bowl outside potential. All pro outside potential. Big fan of Jarian. Not knocking him at all, but it is what it is. And I don't think, as much as this regime likes Jarian, as much as they say they do, I don't think that this regime is like beholden to a 3rd round pick of what Trent Baalke did last year. Late 3rd round pick. And Jordan Lewis, he's up there in age, maybe he starts for the next couple years, and then you have Jarian back in the starting lineup. Who knows how it goes? Maybe you have injuries and Jarian goes out and proves that he has to be on the field, and you can make adjustments as you see fit. But 2 guys that are primary nickel corners are not going to stop me from taking Will Johnson. Now, we've taken care of cornerback, which I still think is a huge need. Whether the Jaguars do or not remains to be seen. We needed interior defensive linemen in a big way. I love seeing Darius Alexander. I love seeing TJ Sanders, Tyleik Williams. These are names I am very high on. And I honestly think when it comes to getting guys that have enough balance to be 3 down players, after the 2nd round, I don't think you're going to get it at interior defensive line. I really don't. You can find some guys that maybe a really good run defender, maybe a really good pass rusher, maybe a little bit of balance, but I think they're going to get eaten up. I think there's going to be tons of interior defensive linemen off the board by the end of round 2, and certainly before the Jaguars pick at 70 overall. But we do now have pick 40, so it's something to keep in mind. We could wait, and we could potentially go get an interior offensive lineman that we love. As you see, where Tyler Booker came off the board at 23. That would have been a great pick. But you've got some offensive tackles. Yeah, like Donovan Jackson here makes a ton of sense in my opinion. Like if we could stack Donovan Jackson and Darius Alexander at 36 and 40, lock up those lines of scrimmage. I'd be a huge fan of that. And Donovan Jackson, probably not starting right away on the interior, but has shown, 4-position flex as a guard and a tackle. If it's me, I'm taking Darius Alexander here. And I think the Jaguars will like his game a lot too because, again, really dynamic pass rusher on the interior who does have some positional versatility. Like, you've seen him win as a 5-tech, but you're probably wanting to use him more as that interior penetration style player who can also hold up at the point of attack in big moments against the run. So Darius Alexander would be my pick here. And the defense just got massively upgraded. As much as I like Eric Armstead, right, which I do, and Mason Smith and Devon Hamilton, 2 of those guys probably not going to be on the roster beyond 2025. Another one of them really, yes, he showed some exciting signs, but you need more than one defensive lineman, one defensive tackle. And I just think you pair up Darius Alexander with Mason Smith long-term on the interior with Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen on the edge, and that's a group you can get really fired up about. Looking at pick 40 here, talked about interior offensive line. See if we still got Donovan Jackson. Yeah, he's still sitting there. I think that would be an easy pick for me at this point. And I think the Jags, they got to address wide receiver before the end of day 2. We've still got 2 opportunities to do that here. And you got a couple opportunities early on day 3 as well. But making sure you fortify the trenches is huge. And Will Johnson is a player who I think at 9 overall is a great value at a high value position. You just saw our guy, Derek Stingley from the hated Houston Texans, get $30 million a year. Cornerback is quickly rising up as one of the most valuable positions in football. So let's take a look at the wide receivers that are available now. Jaylin Noel, Jalen Royals. Sign me up for one of those guys all day long. But we've got a number of quality wide receivers. And you're not looking for a wide receiver 1. You're looking for someone who's going to complement Brian Thomas Jr. And there's just so many guys I would be a big fan of here. Kyle Williams, Torrey Horton, Isaiah Bond, I think is a worthy swing in the 3rd round. Jalen Noel, Jalen Royals, even Trey Harris if you're looking more of a possession style guy. I could see it. So there's options. I want to upgrade safety as we've talked about. I want to upgrade edge. For me, Femi Oladejo, Ashton Gillotte, Q Robinson. These are guys I would be very intrigued by here. David Walker as well, to an extent. Jordan Birch. I don't think I think the Jaguars need someone who's more of a pass rush specialist. Jordan Birch, I think, is more of just one of those big, physical, going to win with power and strength and explosiveness, but not really bendy necessarily. See what we got at safety. To me, Andrew Makuba just is a screaming value in the 3rd round. I think he's going to be a starting safety who can do a lot of different things for you on the back end for a very long time, whether that's being split safety. I think he can do some single high for you. I think he comes down into the box well, plays bigger than his frame. He ran well with a 4.45 40-yard dash. I think he would be a great value. But there's some guys down the board that are good values too here now. Billy Bowman, Upton Stout. We don't have to take Makuba. I think we just need to try to get the best player that we can. That also aligns with a need. To me, that's probably Jaylin Noel, honestly. I mean, the guy is not the biggest out there, but go check him out in contested catch, tight window situations. He's excellent. He's incredibly explosive. He's incredibly fast. He runs routes with pace, nuance, suddenness, physicality. This is like the supercharged version of Christian Kirk for a fraction of the price. think that's the direction I would go here. I'd absolutely love that. Now we can still look at safety. Andrew Makuba still on the board. Starting to be like, okay, we got to turn the pick in here. But we can still look at safety. We can still look at edge. I'm going Makuba. I think he's the type of guy that the Jaguars would view as an intangibly rich player as well. So we have massively upgraded our interior lines of scrimmage, our cornerbacks position and our safety position, which I think cornerback and safety are still two of the biggest needs on this team. And going and getting someone to pair up with BTJ long term. And I think that you look at Noel, I think he has enough strength and explosiveness to not just be a slot player, but to be a move player. And so you can move Noel and BTJ around the formation along with De'Ami Brown this year and have a really potent vertical passing attack. And guys, Jaylin Noel can win underneath. BTJ can win underneath. De'Ami Brown can win underneath. They can all win deep as well. So that's a lot of fun, honestly. Now, let's see if there's an edge still on the board that I'm a big fan of here. Oops. So yeah, we've still got Ashton, Gillotte, and Q Robinson. I think Gillotte would be a great fit. He's a guy who was kind of viewed as, maybe not the best athlete, just wins with effort, wins with strength, natural leverage. He tested really well, and I think he plays the game with his hair on fire. I think he is a very intangibly rich player based on what you see on the field. Just the effort, the strain, the play to and through the whistle. I would love to add him to the mix here, and he's a little bit of a change up from what you have. He's got a lot of mass on his frame. He's a powerfully built guy, but he's not this like hulking presence like a Trayvon Walker or even a Josh Hines-Allen as much as those two guys. So I'd be a big fan of that change up a little bit, and just I think he's going to come in and compete and make your football team a lot better. Harold Vannon Jr. is still on the board. That's not really the type of guy that I think that the Jaguars would gravitate towards. Very talented receiving tight end. We've addressed a lot of the needs here now, which is exciting. And I think we've gotten a great value with Will Johnson, Darius Alexander, Jackson, Noel, Makuba, Gillotte. What else do we need? I think we can start just getting the best values possible. Not worrying about position very much. Let's take a look at the running backs. Jadon Blue, Bashal Tootin, both these guys are incredibly explosive with the football in their hands. They could be tremendous weapons in this Liam Cohen offense. I think you look at Trevor Etienne, you could say the same thing. Kyle Monungai, a little bit more physical, downhill runner. Do you have to take a back here? No. You could, though. You absolutely could. I think Aeneas Peebles would be a really nice swing here. And we've drafted him quite a bit on these mock drafts. But interior defensive lineman out of Virginia Tech who just has too much speed, too much quickness. And I think he's the type of guy that the Jaguars would go for. Like they've shown, James Gladstone has shown a lot of interest in the smaller guys that can really penetrate at a high level. You look at Braden Fisk, you look at Kobe Turner. Neither of them is as light as Aeneas Peebles, but Aeneas Peebles, even though he's 280 pounds, he's short. So he has, the density on his frame. It's just that he's a little shorter than most of these guys. Love Jamari Caldwell, though, too, and he's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. 340 pounds, but really quick, too, and very physical against the run. So those are a couple guys I really like. See if we can upgrade the interior of the offensive line. I think Seth McLaughlin's an interesting one because he had the injury, but I think he was trending towards being a starting center in the NFL. I think he still can be. Just had a big injury this year. Emory Jones, somebody who I think would be a good swing at some point in the draft. You want to get him moving in the right direction, but he could be a hell of a swing with the way he plays and his physicality, and he's a good athlete overall. So at wide receiver, Torrey Horton. Love Torrey Horton's game. Kyle Williams, goodness gracious. This is an incredibly difficult spot. Okay, I think Kyle Williams is the highest rated player on my board. So that's the direction we're going to go. Look, De'Ami Brown is only under contract for 1 year, right? So Gabe Davis probably not going to be on the roster after this year. So you got BTJ, you got who else on this roster that's going to be on the roster long term? Parker Washington is under contract for the next 2 seasons. I think they really need to continue to fill out that room. And so Kyle Williams and Jaylin Noel would be fantastic additions, in my opinion. Kyle Williams is explosive, great route runner, good in contested catch situations, great separation, yak ability, super productive. Yeah, sign me all the way up for those 2 guys. And that's just thinking about that wide receiver room for the next 5 to 10 years. Brian Thomas Jr., Jaylin Noel, Kyle Williams. That's special. That's special right there. And now Travis Etienne, final year of his rookie deal. So I do think we want to go address the position at some point. How ironic would it be if they went and got Trevor Etienne? But to me, the most impressive combination of size and speed is actually Bashal Tutin. Now, he did have some fumbling issues the last couple years. You got to clean that up. And you can't have Tank Bigsby putting the ball on the ground, Bashal Tutin putting the ball on the ground. But that's one of those things that you have seen a lot of guys clean up throughout their career, is the fumbling issues. So taking a swing on somebody that's 210 pounds, who has, good tackle breaking ability, the ability to bounce off arm tackles, but absolutely has rocket boosters on his feet. I think it's a good swing. You're talking about running 4.3 at 210. And he runs really well. It looks like he's moving at about 1.25, 1.5 speed compared to everybody else on the field. So we probably need to be done with wide receiver after taking a couple guys pretty early. I don't know how Luke Lachey is still just so undervalued. Jackson Haw is a very good blocker. I think that's somebody the Jaguars could like late. Miles Frazier. I think he's a starting guard. We got to put him on the board. I think he's a starting guard in the NFL. I think he's a day 2 guy. Late day 2, but day 2 nonetheless. Yeah, love that. So now you've got Miles Frazier and Donovan Jackson to kind of Ezra Cleveland. The Jaguars could move on after this year. He has under contract through 2026, but they could save money by moving on after 2025. Not saying they should, but they now really have that depth on the interior, in my opinion, to have a great level of flexibility and a great plan moving forward into 2025 and beyond. Just got to try to find some good values now at this point. We could add another edge player. Only added Ashton Gillotte, and you need more than 3. You have Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker you love. I think Luke Lachey is a really good value at 182, I got to admit. And I think he could come in and be that type of balanced tight end that they look for in this system. Another one, Tyler Shuck. I don't know how he falls to this point, but I'm going to take advantage of it. Backup quarterback option for you. I think you look at your guy, Nick Mullins, who you brought in. You like having him in the room. You probably don't want him to have to play on the field. So Tyler Shuck has a ton of upside, a ton of talent, arm talent, and not like an elite athlete, but more than enough athleticism and flexibility with his arm, can throw off platform, can throw on the run, different arm angles. He's a guy that really he should be a day 2 pick. Really the only reason he should be a day 2 pick is because he's 25. He dealt with a lot of injury throughout his career. Ricky White came off the board. He would have been a great one. Just a special team stud. You look at linebacker at this spot. I love Shamar James out of Florida, and that's not bias at all. He really popped to me more at the Senior Bowl than he did on tape as much, and there's plenty to like on tape, but the Senior Bowl, he had a tremendous week there. And is linebacker a huge need? No, but Chad Muma, Devin Lloyd, Ventrell Miller. There's as many question marks as there is. Foye Lukin. I love Foye. How long are they going to want to keep him under contract at his price tag, all that stuff? I do think linebacker could be a sneaky play at some point for the Jaguars, and they've shown interest in a few linebackers in this draft class. I would hope they would certainly wait till at least day 3 to address off-ball linebacker, but you never know. So huge draft class here. How many picks did we end up having after trading down? Will Johnson at 9, Darius Alexander at 36, Donovan Jackson at 40, Jaylin Noel at 70, Makuba at 88. In round 4, 3 picks there, Ashton, Gillotte, Kyle Williams, Bashal Tootin. Round 5, you get Miles Frazier. Round 6, Luke Lachey. Round 6, Tyler Shuck. And round 7, Shamar James. How many picks is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 draft picks for your Jacksonville Jaguars in this one. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Again, if Shedeur does fall to 5, I think that presents a really interesting opportunity for the Jaguars to potentially trade back and acquire an absolute stud at 9. So again, let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.